Hello and welcome to this session of Code Set Styles. My name is Mike Racca and I work for the Florida Department of Transportation and the Production Support Office CAD department. I am a CAD application support specialist. In this session we're going to cover multiple code set styles that are available in the FDOT Civil 3D State Kit. We will learn how to apply code set styles, create code set styles, and learn how they are used in various ways in a project, whether you're applying them to a 3D corridor, cross sections, or assembly components. So before we get started, let's just cover the software and the user prerequisites. As far as the software is concerned, just have the latest or most current version of the FDOT Civil 3D State Kit installed. And this is just to ensure that you're using the latest code set styles that have been developed by for FDOT roadway modeling. For user prerequisites, just have a good understanding of AutoCAD, and you should have a basic understanding of AutoCAD Civil 3D. So our objectives that we're going to cover in this session is we're going to talk about what are code set styles and what do they do. And then we'll talk about the elements of a subassembly and how the point links and shape codes of a subassembly relate to a code set style. And then we'll talk about what objects can you set or apply code set styles to. Where are they located in the Tool Space Pallett? How can you find existing ones that we already have? How do you create new ones or copy ones that already exist? Then we'll talk about objects, commands, or how to reference a code set style, or what objects in a drawing are currently using code set styles and how to find them. Then we'll talk about the components of a code set style. We'll take a look at the dialog box and all the different parts of it and what they mean. And then we'll go into editing, copying, and applying code set styles to different objects. And then we'll demonstrate how to create a few code set styles, such as how to render a code set style, maybe how to do a standard material with a fill hatch pattern, or how to just show a standard 2D planimetric view of a code set style. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about real quick is just what are code set styles and what do they do? Well, code set styles are styles that can be used to display or change the look of different objects, such as a corridor model, with whether it's in plan view, a 3D view, or maybe you want to create a rendered view of a corridor model. Or maybe you want to change the look of the components of a cross section. And a cross section, maybe you want to show some of the subassemblies hatched. Maybe you want to show some of them, some of the line work in it as dashed or continuous line work. Or maybe you want to expose some of the labels that are in a subassembly. You want to show them in your cross sections and have your cross sections automatically label themselves. Also, you can apply code set styles to have the layout mode of an assembly or subassembly look different as you are constructing your assembly to build your corridor with. And I like to think of dividing code set styles maybe into two different categories. You have your working or your designing category, and this is the code set style that just gives you the ability to view your corridor or the object that you're working with in a manner that's easy for you to edit, evaluate, or design. And then you have your code set style category that you apply to an object that you want it to be plottable. So for example, you have your 3D corridor and you want to get rid of all the frequency lines and the extra data. You just want to show just the feature lines that represent your 2D or your plan view drawing. Just for plotting, you can assign that particular code set style too. And as we go along here, just kind of this session will just give you some ways on how you can create your own specialized styles and help better to manage your corridor designs. So just real quick, what we want to do is just talk about the elements of a subassembly, because once you understand the elements of a subassembly, you kind of get a better idea of how that subassembly ties back into your code set styles, and it'll give you a better understanding of how to understand the dialog box that you go into to help edit your code set styles, whether you're applying a label style to them, a render material, or material area fill style. It's important to learn how these point links and shapes for assembly work. So first of all, you have your points. Point codes are the feature codes that are assigned to the endpoints of the links that make up your subassembly. So we can kind of just pretend like this shape here, maybe as an outline of a sidewalk or something. And at the back and front of each of your sidewalk, you have these point codes. Um, Besides point codes, you have links. So between each point code, you have a link. Basically, a link is defined as a straight single line segment between the endpoints, and these links can have codes to them. The codes can be something like top or pave or sidewalk, um, things like that. And then you have your shape code. So once you have all your points connected, you'll have what is known as a shape. Shapes are the closed in areas that create a single subassembly. And the use for shapes can be used for maybe applying different patterns for materials or to extract areas for material volume tabulation. But once you have all these pieces together, you can do things like create surface models, create feature lines, earthwork and material volume analysis, plan production, cross sections, and visualization and rendering. So in this slide, real quick, we're just showing here how we have like an FDOT lane subassembly. And we have our points here on the end. So you can see some of the points are called lanes, or edge of pavement base, or edge of travelway. And then between the points, we have codes for like top, pave, and slope label. And then we have a pave 1 shape, a pave 2 shape, a base, and then we have a datum applied on the bottom. And once, these link codes that we can use, they do things like control automatic labeling. Uh, these link codes can be used to simplify the surface creation. So in other words, just about all of our subassemblies have a link code called top. I can go into Civil 3D, pick that corridor and say define a surface with all of the link codes that have the word top in it, and that will then produce me a finished grade surface from my corridor. So once we have our assembly created, so up here on the top we have like a curb and gutter, and we have 3 lanes attached to the right, and then we have our assembly marker here. Well, this assembly marker is going to travel down our alignment, and as it travels down our alignment, down here on the bottom, as we can see, we have what's known as a frequency, or how frequent that occurrence of that subassembly or that assembly is going to get applied as it goes down the alignment. So it could be every 10 feet, every 5 feet. It all depends on how detailed you want your corridor to be. So between each frequency, feature lines are generated. Once these feature lines are generated between each frequency, then we start to develop a 3D model. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how to maybe use a code set style to expose these feature lines and then turn off everything else so we have a 2D planimetric drawing. Or maybe we'll expose the top pave link for these lanes here and hatch them in some way. Or maybe apply some type of rendered material to these links or these feature lines so that we get a more realistic looking 3D model. Okay. So just real quick, we'll talk about what objects can you set code set styles to. Well, we can assign them to an assembly layout with subassemblies. So on top here, we have the same assembly layout, but we have 2 different looks to it. So on the left here, maybe we have a code set style called FDOT Assembly Codes that shows a fill pattern, and it shows some slope labels. And on the right here, we have a code set style called FDOT Help, which shows or exposes the point, links, and shape codes of our subassemblies. Then on the bottom we have our corridor. Well, it's the same corridor, but we have 2 different looks. On the left here, we have a planimetric view with a hatch pattern applied to the lanes. And on the right, we have an FDOT assembly code code set style that just kind of shows everything. It shows the frequency lines, it shows the feature lines, and the point codes. We can also set code styles to our cross-section views. So up on top we have a specific code set style called FDOT cross section that we apply to our cross sections when we're ready to plot them. Or we can change when we're viewing our frequency lines in our section editor view, we can apply a code set style to that as well. With that said, we're going to go ahead and launch Civil 3D, and we're going to take a look and see where all of our code set styles are located throughout Civil 3D. So here in Civil 3D, we have our tool space is launched. So if you don't see the tool space, just go up here on the ribbon tab, and under the pallets panel, click on tool space, and our palette comes up. What you want to do is you want to make sure that under pallets you have this little wrench symbol clicked. When you have that clicked, what that does is that turns on an extra tab here for settings. Okay, it should be on by default, but if it's not, that's how you turn it off and on. So if we go to the settings tab, what we want to do is go under general here, and we want to click on the multi-purpose styles, and then we want to go to code set styles and click on that to expose all of our code set styles that reside in this drawing. So you can see that we have different code set style names. We have FDOT assembly layout with code. So of course this one is you can apply to an assembly layout. So when you're applying your assembly layout and you're putting all your subassemblies together, this might be the one you want to assign to it. We have an FDOT base, which you can apply to your assembly layout as well, or you can assign this to a corridor. It works both ways. And then we have some different corridor code set styles. We have a material area fill, we have a planimetric view, we have a render view, and we'll take a look at how to actually create these three code set styles at the end of this session. We have one specific for milling overlay, and then we have ones for a cross section where you're showing drainage, or you're showing some cross section with existing features, or cross section with mill and overlay, and then we have one for different point labels and slopes. Another way to get to code set styles is if you just simply select the corridor. If you select the corridor, you can go into corridor properties, and you can go along here, and on the codes tab you get to the same code set styles. Okay, so this is where you'd go to apply different code set styles to your corridor. Another way to get to code set styles is just simply select the corridor. You can either pick it here in the drawing, or you can go to the Prospector tab, you can go to corridor, right click and say select, and it highlights it the same way. Then right click and go to properties. And under properties, under data, we have the same code set styles you can pick. And as you pick them, you can see in the background the corridor changes. Okay, it changes the look according to the style that you choose here. Okay, so we go ahead and close this out. Also, if we come up here to our assemblies, and if I pick this assembly here, right click and go to, select assembly, right click, go to assembly properties, you can see that there's codes for that. And it's the same list. So whatever you choose here and click apply, it will apply it, and the look of your assembly will change. So something else I want to point out is if we go up to settings, we go to code set styles, you'll notice that this little yellow marker. Well, that means that something is using that code set style. Something is referencing it. So if you pick it, right click, you can choose find reference. And it says, okay, this FDOT base code set style, this is what's referencing it. So the corridor is using it. We have our drawing settings are using it. And then if we go down the list here, we can see that different subassemblies are using it. So our subassembly for curb and gutter, our FDOT daylight, our FDOT lane subassembly is using it, our FDOT sidewalk is using it. If I were to come over here and let's say I'm going to choose this assembly, and I'll go into properties, and we'll pick a different code set style. Just real quick, I'll just say this one with no slopes. When I choose it, you'll see that little yellow symbol apply next to it. Maybe now that is referencing that code set style. So if I go back and change this back to FDOT base, you'll see that little yellow symbol disappear. Okay, so that's what that means. That just means that that's the objects that are referencing those code set styles. Okay, later on in this session, when I go to open up a drawing with some sample lines in it, we'll take a look at how sample line groups also reference code set styles, and where you go to apply different code set styles to your sample line groups for cross-section drawings. Okay, next what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the components of a code set style. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a look at this one called standard here. So if I right click on it, we can do a few different things. We can edit it, we can copy it, we can find references, or we can replace it with something else, or we can refresh it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on edit because I want to see what is all involved with this particular code set style. So the standard one is very simple. There's really nothing in it yet. You have two tabs. You have the information tab, and then you have the codes tab. So let's go over to the codes tab and let's take a look at what we have. So earlier I was talking about how a subassembly has three different components to it. It has a link, point, and shape. Well, if you notice here, that's the three categories we have. We have link, point, and shape. So I'm going to click on the plus symbol and let's just see what we have here. So under link we have categories on the top. We have the name, we have the description. The description is the description of each code. We have the style that's being assigned to each code. We have the label style that's being assigned to each code. We have the render material. Notice how the render material only applies to links. We have a material area hatch fill style. So if we want to apply a hatch pattern, again, that's only for links. We have a feature line style. Notice that this category is only for point codes. So remember what I said, between each frequency, we have a feature line that gets created between each point. Well, that's why that's only for that category. And then we have pay items, if we want to assign pay item data to our codes. So as we notice here in this drawing, we don't have any codes that are applied or that are in this drawing. So what we would want to do is come down the bottom here and we can choose import codes. And if you look at the command line, it says to select the subassembly, assemblies, or corridors to apply codes from. So I can come down here and left click on the corridor, right click, and this is all the point, links, and shape codes that are currently being used in this corridor. And then I would next go through, if I want to change the description, or I'm sorry, change the look, I could start editing the style, the render material, the feature line style, things like that, to give this corridor its own unique look. So let's go ahead and do that. What I want to do is we're going to create a few different code set styles. So what we're going to do first is let's create one that's for that fills in the road or the paved link for this roadway. So if I bring my cursor over in here and just kind of hover over a little bit, I get a tooltip that comes up, and that tells me, if you kind of look on the bottom, it says the link codes that lane is using is top, pave, slope, label. So what I want to do is I want to have that pave have a concrete look to it. Okay. Also, if I bring my cursor over here to the right a little bit, we have a sidewalk, right? Between this blue and green line, that's my sidewalk. So if I bring my cursor over that link, we actually have a link code called sidewalk. Okay, so for that sidewalk, I want to give that a concrete look to it also. And then we have some daylighting here on the right where our sidewalk connects to the existing surface. So if I bring my cursor over that link, we have one called top, daylight, and datum. So all I want to do is take that daylight and apply a sod look to it, or grass look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to my standard. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to say copy. And I'm going to go to the information tab. I'm going to change the name of it because I've created a copy of that standard. So let's call this standard material area fill. And I'm going to go to the codes and I'm going to expand these out. Like I said, right now there's nothing in it. It's a standard code set style. Nothing in it has been defined yet. So all I want to do is import the codes. So I'm going to click import codes. I'm going to right click, I'm going to left click on the corridor, right click, and now I have those codes imported into this code set style. And I'm going to go ahead and minimize some of these categories because what I want to focus on right now is the links. So for this first category, for the link styles, I don't want to show any of the link styles. What I want to do is I want to show a material area fill style. So we're going to turn off the links. So I can do that by selecting the first one, holding the shift key down, selecting the last one, clicking on this box here, and I'm going to go from standard to no display and click OK. So that's a quick and easy way to change these all the way to no display. So now I'm going to go over here to the curb, and I'm going to go over here to the far right, and for material area fill style I'm going to click on this box here, and we're going to choose FDOT curb. Now you can see it, when you have the state kit installed, we have a lot of different shape styles already defined for you, and we try to match these up pretty close to how they would match up to the subassembly names themselves. So here we're going to choose FDOT curb. If you want to see what that shape style looks like, you can click on this little box with a pencil, and we can go to display, and we can see that's going to show up in plan view as a yellow color. And we can go into model, it's going to be the same thing, yellow color. If we were to show it in a profile, it would get us a shade of gray, and in the section it'd be a shade of gray. But right now what we're mostly concerned about is what it looks like in the model. It's going to be that yellow. So I'm going to click OK and apply that curve to there. Next, what I said is we want to change the daylight. So again, I'm going to come over here to my material area fill, where my daylight is at. I'm going to apply an FDOT sod. Alright, next what we're going to do is the FDOT concrete. We're going to do the pave. Remember the pave link that we looked at for our lane? Again, we're going to choose that material area fill style box. We're going to click on the down arrow, and we're going to find the FDOT concrete up at the top here. And then we're going to go over to sidewalk. That's our last one. We're going to click on that, click on the down arrow. We're going to find our FDOT sidewalk shape style. Click OK. Click OK. Now I clicked OK. Now it created that as our new code set style. I could have clicked apply and it would apply it, but we're going to go ahead and do this differently. We're going to select the corridor. We're going to right click. We're going to go to properties. And then we're going to go to our code set style here. We're going to choose standard material area fill. So you can see that it turned off all the links, or all the styles for our links, and it applied that concrete, that FDOT concrete look. And you can see where our daylighting is at. We have our FDOT sod, and then you can see that it also changed our sidewalk appearance. And then our curb and gutter also has that FDOT curb shape style applied to it. Okay, next what I want to do is demonstrate how we can just show just the 2D line work of this corridor. Maybe we're setting this up to create our plan and profile sheets, and we want this to be our plan drawing. So instead of having to go through here and draw the sidewalk front and back and the curb and gutter and the edge of travel way and everything for our 2D drawing, we can pull all that information out of our corridor and just let our corridor represent that geometry. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to my corridor. We'll go to the properties of it, and we're going to go ahead and go back to our FDOT base corridor style. Okay, let's go back to settings. You can see that little yellow symbol is not next to our code set style anymore. It's not being used. So what I want to do again is I'm going to take that standard style, I'm going to right click and make a copy of it. We'll go here to the information tab and we're going to call this planimetric view. Again, we're going to go to codes. We're going to choose import codes, because if I go through here, you can see since we're starting off with standard, nothing is in it. So we're going to choose import codes, and we're going to go ahead and click on our corridor. We can also come up here, we could click on our assemblies also, and that would bring in the codes as well, because remember, the corridor is being created from these sub-assemblies. So it's really up to you. So once I right click on that, it brings back up our code set style dialog box. So this time what I want to do is I want to show the feature line style for my point codes. Okay, so remember, feature lines are created between point codes at each frequency of a corridor. So that's why we don't have the option to change frequency line codes for links, and we don't have the option to change frequency line styles for shapes. We only have them for point codes. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all these by holding down the shift key, and I'm going to turn off the style for labels. So I'm going to choose that to no display. And then I'm going to come over here and we're going to change our feature line style. So we kind of showed how we can find the codes that we want to change by bringing our cursor over the corridor and showing that tooltip. But I already kind of know what I want to change here. So what I want to do is I want to show the back of curb as a 2D planimetric object. So for back of curb, I'm going to go to my feature line style, click on this option to bring up the selection box, click on the down arrow, and you can see that we have multiple feature line styles already predefined in the Civil 3 State Kit. So here I'm going to choose FDOT curb back. So we go all the way to the front. There's FDOT curb back. If you want to see what that style looks like, you can click on the pencil, and that brings it up and it shows. We go to the display tab, and basically it's just a yellow feature line, and it's going to be on the curb back layer. Okay, so I'll click OK, click OK. Next we want to do the edge of travel way. We want to show that, so I'll choose edge of travel way, go over here to standard, and we'll do pavement asphalt feature line, and then we want to show the face of curb. So I'll go over here, we'll choose FDOT curb face. And then we want to show the sidewalk front and back. So I'll do sidewalk back first. Go through here, we have FDOT. Sidewalk back. Then we have FDOT sidewalk front. Click OK. Alright, so this time we're going to go ahead and click Apply. Click OK. Now, if you come over here and look, you can see that the planimetric is in here, but maybe we need to come over here and refresh this. So let's see. Okay, maybe I didn't click Apply. Oh, actually I did create it, but I didn't apply it to the corridor. That's what I did. So I created it, but we didn't apply it to the corridor. So let me go ahead and select it from here. I'm going to go into the Properties box, and we're going to choose Planimetric View. Okay, so even though I applied that planimetric view style to the corridor, you kind of see that we still don't have the look we want. So what we have here is we have got maybe objects laying on top of one another, because we still don't want to show these frequency lines and we may have some additional point codes or link codes still turned on. That's kind of obstructing our view of our feature line styles that we've applied. So let's go through here and we're going to edit this and clean this up a little bit. So what I like to do is just go ahead and just shut everything off. So I'm going to go to the link category, select all of them, and for the style of those, I'm going to click on that box, and we're going to go ahead and choose the no display option and just turn all those off. Same thing for points. I kind of already did that. Went ahead and chose them, turn the points off, and then we'll do the shapes just to make sure. We'll select shapes. We'll go into standard here, and we're going to choose no display and turn them off and click OK. Okay, so now it actually turned off more of the line work, but we still have one more thing to turn off. We have a layer that we need to shut off as well. So I'm going to go to my home ribbon and my layers panel. I'm going to click on the little light bulb here, and I'm just going to click, and it's going to turn that layer off. So now you can see that we are just showing our feature lines for our corridor. So you see we have our edge of travel way, we have our back in front of curb, and then we have our sidewalks that are showing in our drawing. So now we can actually use this to create a plan and profile drawing or a plan only drawing. So the next thing we're going to talk about in just a moment is how to create a rendered corridor. How do we apply an actual grass looking material or a realistic looking asphalt material, or realistic looking concrete to our corridor. But before we get into that, I want to point out one more thing. You notice when we were going through our code set styles and we were editing them, we were applying different feature line styles and different shape styles and stuff. Well, under the multi-purpose category, you can see that we have, this is where our feature line styles are at. So if you wanted to add to this list or alter this list or something like that, you can. This is where you do it from, feature line styles. As far as the shape styles, here's where the shape styles are at. So you can see that this is where we have our pavement asphalt that we just used. And if we go through here, this is what FDOT sidewalk that we applied. These are just multiple different shape styles. And like I said, we try to keep them where they match in relation to our subassembly shape names. So it's easier for the user just to come in here and pick this and just kind of match the names up to one another. We also have one in here that's called no display. So if you just want to shut everything off, you would pick that display, and it would turn off that view in your file. Okay. So let's talk about a render material. How do you apply a render material? Well, there's first a few things you have to make sure before you start applying render materials. Is you have to make sure that render material actually is in your file. So you have to have these materials installed in your PC, and it's actually a separate installation. Okay, so the material library is actually a separate installation. Now, if you don't have it installed, you need to go back to your installation directory, and you're going to browse to wherever it's at, Civil 3D 2018, Content, and then you have Autodesk Materials, and then you have 2018, then you have an ILB directory and a CM directory. You're going to have an MSI file in both of these directories. You're going to have to double click on them to install them. The best way to find out if you have the material library installed is just to go to your control panel. So let's do that. Let's go to control panel. We're going to go to program and features and just go down the list here, and we're going to see if we have it installed. So here you can see I have the Autodesk Materials Library and the Autodesk Material Library Base Resolution Image Library installed. So if you don't have those installed, if you try to apply a texture to something or render an object, you're going to get an error, or actually not an error, a notification that's going to tell you your Autodesk Material Library is not installed. You must install it before you can go any further, and it'll tell you to refer to the help system for installation instructions. And in those installation instructions, it's going to tell you where you need to go on your PC to install these two items. Okay, So once you get these two items installed, what you're going to do is you're going to want to bring them into your file. So to bring them into your drawing, to your file, we're going to go ahead and switch workspaces up here. So on the workspaces tab, we're going to go down and we're going to choose 3D modeling. And we'll notice that the whole environment kind of changes, and it gives us items specific to 3D modeling tasks. If we come up here to the top, what we want to do is go to the Visualize tab. Okay, so to bring up the material browser so we can look at the materials that are in our library, I can go to Visualize and click Material Browser here, or if you like to type in the commands at the command line, you can type in RMAT. That'll bring up your Render Material Browser. So up on top we can see the current materials that we have in our file, and on the bottom these are the materials that are in our library. And we can view these a few different ways. We can come up here to the bottom right, at the top right hand corner, and we can look at this in list view, or we can look at this in a thumbnail view. I like to look at the thumbnail view because it gives me a better representation or idea of what that material looks like. And the same thing down on the bottom, you've got different views also, thumbnail view, list view, and you can sort them by name, category, color, size. So you got a lot of nice options in there. So I want to bring in a couple of different materials that we don't have in this file yet. I want to bring up the grass lawn material, the asphalt black material, and the concrete material. So I want to do a search for, we're going to bring up a material for grass, asphalt black, concrete. So I need to come up here to my search dialog box. I'm going to type in grass. And you see that it filters out and it shows me all the different type of grass materials I can bring in here. So let's do, how about this grass thick? So I'll just click it and drag it up to the top. Now I've got my grass thick in there, and then we'll do another. Let's do asphalt. And here we'll bring in, let's say this asphalt 2. Actually, we already have one in there, so let's go ahead and delete that one. Let's keep the one we got in here. And then let's, what's the next one we need? We want to do a concrete. So do we already have a concrete in here? Actually, we do already have a concrete. Okay, so all we needed was the grass. So now that I've got these materials in my file, I'm going to go ahead and close this box out. And I want to go back to my Civil 3D workspace. So I'm going to go ahead and change my workspace to get all my Civil 3D features. And when we go back to that, we'll notice that the FDOT Ribbon isn't installed, or it's not showing. It's installed, but it's not showing up. So all we need to do is just go to the command line and type in FDOT Ribbon, Ribbon tab. You can kind of see how the command line automatically tries to finish typing out my command. So we want to type in FDOT Ribbon tab, and then we get the FDOT Ribbon back at the top. Let's go and go to our tool space, and we're going to go to settings, and then we're going to go back to general, and then we're going to go to code set styles, and let's go ahead and start off with that standard again. We're going to say copy, and then this one here we're going to just call this render. And then let's edit it. So we'll go to codes, and then again I'm going to go to links, and we want to import our codes because we don't have anything in here. So I'm going to say import codes. I'm going to go ahead and select my corridor. It shows all the codes in there, and I want to go ahead and change all these styles here to no display once again. And then we're going to go over to our daylight, and then we're going to go to render material. We already did material area fill style, or this time we do render material. We're going to click on that box, and there's our material that we were just looking at. We were in our material browser, and we're going to choose grass. And then for our pavement, we're going to choose our asphalt. And then for our sidewalk, we're going to choose our concrete. Not sure if I got the right one there. Let's go with that one. We can always come back and change it. And then our sod, that's our daylighting as well, or maybe between the lanes. And we're going to go ahead and choose grass for that. So let's do our grass thick, click OK. And then we're going to click apply to apply that style, click OK again. Now we have to apply that code set style render to our corridor. So let's pick the corridor, use the property dialog box, and I'll go ahead and choose render. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to go up to the top and we're going to change our 2D wireframe to realistic. And we didn't see much happen because earlier on in this session I actually turned off one of my corridor layers. So let's go back over here to our layers property box and we're going to click on the light bulb to turn on all of our layers. And then we can zoom in here and we can see that we now have a grass material being applied to our sod and our daylighting. We've got an asphalt material being applied to our sidewalk, and then we have another type of material being applied to our roadway. And I can zoom out here a little bit, and if you want to get a little bit better look at this, we can right click on our corridor, we can choose select, and I'm going to right click again. We're going to go into what's known as object viewer, and we can kind of zoom around here a little bit. We still see these frequency lines because I didn't turn those off in that render code, so that's something that, you know, again, we want to go back and turn off. I told you it's nice to keep your code set styles clean just by shutting everything off that you don't need, by using that no display option, and just having that render material turned on that you want to show in that code set style. Okay, so go ahead and I'm going to turn that off. Exit here. So we'll take a look at one more code set style we want to look at is how to alter maybe a cross section. So let's go ahead and open up another file here. I've got one set up for cross sections. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to open up a drawing real quick for cross sections and just kind of demonstrate how maybe we'd put some slope labels on some cross sections in a code set style. So here, if we go to Prospector, just kind of real quick show you how where code set styles can be assigned to your cross sections. We can go to alignments, center line alignments, sample line groups. If we pick our sample lines, we go to sampling properties, and on the sections tab, here is our different styles. Well, for corridor, we actually have code set styles that we can apply. So right now you can see that we've got that's actually surface style, so we only have one code set style that we can apply for this corridor in this cross section here. So right now we have FDOT cross section, that's our standard one that's applied, and you can see that it just kind of shows the outline of all of our subassemblies. So here it shows the sidewalk, curb and gutter, and our lane. So what I want to do is I want to put a slope label here on top for our pave 1 subassembly. So if I go over to my settings tab again, and we'll go over to general, we'll go to multi-purpose style, we'll go to code set styles. We can see that here's the cross section code set style that we're using. So I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to say copy, and I'm going to go to the information tab and I'm going to rename this a little bit. I'm going to call this cross section with slope label. And the description says FDOT cross sections that do not display labels. I'll say that do display slope labels. We'll go over here to the code. We'll go over here to the link, because remember it's a link that we want to label. And if I go down my list here, there's that paved link, and right now there is no label style assigned to it. None of these, they all say none. So I'm going to click on the little tag there, click on the down arrow, and I'm going to place a grade level. We've got a flat grade, we've got one that's got 2 decimal places, one that's got 3 decimal places. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 2 decimal places. I'll click OK, click OK. So now we've created that FDOT cross section with slope labels. So now I need to apply that label style to my cross section. So again, we're going to go back up to the Prospector tab. We're going to go to Slope, Sample Lines, Sample Line Group Properties. Here's my corridor. We're going to change the code set style. I'm going to click on the down arrow, and we're going to choose cross sections with slope labels. Click OK, click OK again, and then you can see that now that code set style has exposed that that link point style. If we again, to get real familiar with the way these where these codes are at and what codes are being applied to these subassemblies, always go to the Tool Palette, and we're going to make sure that FDOT Tool Pallette's here, and let's go to our lane, and we're going to right click on the lane palette. Well, let me put it back over here. That's okay, I just double clicked on it twice. We're going to right click on that lane subassembly. We're going to take a look at the help, and always go to the bottom of each one of these help documents, and it tells you what codes are applied to there. So you can see that here's that pave link that we selected in a code set style dialog box and applied that label style to it. Okay, so that's about it. We've ran out of time. Let me bring up my last slide here. Again, my name is Mike Racca. This was a session on code set styles. You can go to the link there below to download the FDOT Civil 3D State Kit, so that you'll have all these code set styles. You'll have all these templates. Most of everything already set up in it. If you have any questions on how to create some of these or alter some of these or anything about the sessions, send me an email. Thank you everyone, and have a great day.